rule here! Obey me! Drop it! I'm the sheriff!
The air hung thick with the scent of pine and fresh-cut grass that humid July afternoon. I turned just in time to see her Margaret Hayes, the self-proclaimed guardian of Willow Creek Estate, standing there like she'd stepped out of some twisted neighborhood watch fantasy. Her face was flushed red, her hands trembling as she gripped a sleek black pistol, pointing it right at my daughter Laura's chest. Laura, fresh from a swim in the creek, stood dripping wet in her swimsuit, towel slung over her shoulder, looking every bit the relaxed visitor. But Margaret didn't see that. To her, Laura was just another intruder defying her ironclad rules. "Put it down, ma'am," Laura said, her voice steady as steel, hands raised slowly. "This doesn't have to go this way." Margaret let out a laugh that cracked like thunder, high-pitched and unhinged. "Around here, I make the rules. You're trespassing, and I'll handle this myself." My wife Mary grabbed my arm, her nails digging in as our grandkids froze on the deck behind us. The birds went silent, the creek's gentle ripple, the only sound breaking the tension. My heart pounded like a drum in my chest. How had a simple retirement dream turned into this nightmare? And the worst part? Margaret had no clue who she was messing with. Laura wasn't just my daughter. She was the Riverside County Sheriff. One wrong move, and this bully's reign of terror would crumble. But as the gun shook in her hands, I wondered if we'd make it out before it all exploded. We'd scrimped and saved for over 20 years to make Willow Creek our haven. As a retired structural engineer, I'd spent my career buried in blueprints and site inspections, dreaming of a quiet spot by the water where Mary and I could unwind. No more traffic jams in the city, no more deadlines. Just us, the grandkids splashing around, and sunsets painting the sky orange over the creek. When we finally closed on the modest ranch-style house tucked into a shady bend of Willow Creek, it felt like winning the lottery. 2 bedrooms, a wraparound deck, and our own little pier jutting into the water. Nothing fancy, but solid, like the bridges I'd helped build. That first morning, I woke to the call of morning doves and the smell of Mary's coffee brewing in the old drip machine she'd insisted on packing. We sat on the deck, mugs in hand, watching mist rise off the creek as Bass jumped in the distance. "This is our slice of paradise, Jack," Mary said, squeezing my hand. For a while it was. Neighbors like Bill from down the way waved from his fishing boat. An elderly couple brought over a cherry pie our second week. Everyone kept to themselves, and that's how we liked it. I tinkered with small fixes reinforcing the pier, planning a stone fire pit for Esmores with the kids. Mary planted wildflowers along the path. Life felt right, unhurried. But trouble doesn't always announce itself with fanfare. It sneaks in, like the hum of an ATV engine one crisp Saturday morning. I was measuring out spots for Mary's flower beds when it rolled up, stopping abruptly at our driveway's edge. The thing was decked out like a wannabe cop car, flashing amber light on top, sides sloppily painted in black and white stripes. Out stepped a woman in her late 50s, aviator sunglasses perched on her nose, a clipboard gripped like a shield. Her posture screamed authority, chin up, shoulders squared. "Welcome to Willow Creek Estates Association," she declared, as if reading from a script. That was Margaret Hayes, though I didn't know then how she'd poison our peace. She didn't bother with handshakes or small talk. Just marched up, eyes scanning our house like she was appraising it for auction. "I'm Margaret Hayes, president of the association," she said flatly. "Here's your orientation packet." She shoved a thick folder into my hands. "Bylaws. Rules on everything from fence heights to holiday lights, and a dues schedule. $500 annually, due next month. Covers road repairs, pier maintenance, snow removal in winter, and security patrols which I lead personally." I glanced at her ATV, the light blinking mockingly. "Security patrols?" I asked, keeping my tone neutral. She nodded, dead serious. "We maintain order. Can't have folks thinking they can do as they please." Mary, always the peacemaker, smiled from the deck. "Nice to meet you, Margaret. Our realtor didn't mention an association. Nothing in the closing docs." Margaret's lips thinned, but she recovered with a forced smile. "Some agents overlook details. But rest assured, we're here to protect property values. Sign the membership form at the back, attach your check, and drop it off at my place within 30 days. Her tone brooked no argument. I nodded politely, and she revved off, leaving dust in her wake. That night, after Mary turned in, I pored over our paperwork, deeds, surveys, county maps. Something felt off about her pushiness. Pulling up online records, I confirmed it. Our plot and a few others predated the association by over a decade. It was formed in the 90s, long after our land was subdivided in the 80s. Legally, we weren't part of it. Margaret's authority stopped at her fence line. This wasn't oversight, it was a power play. I figured ignoring her would suffice. We went back to our routines: morning walks, evening barbecues. But a week later, an envelope appeared under my truck's wiper. Notice of violation, it read. Our offense: stacked lumber for the fire pit, deemed unapproved materials under bylaw 6.3. Fine, $50, doubling weekly if uncorrected. At the bottom, Margaret's scrawled note: friendly reminder, follow the rules or face consequences. I chuckled at first, but it wasn't funny. We hadn't joined her club. I moved the wood inside, not out of compliance, but to avoid escalation. Wrong move. 3 days later, another notice: improper waste container placement. We'd set out our bins the night before pickup, standard practice. Another $50 fine. This wasn't about order, it was control. Margaret couldn't stomach us existing outside her grasp. I started a file that night, a simple folder labeled Margaret. In went surveys, tax docs, her packet, my decline letter, and the notices. Dated, noted, organized. If she wanted war, I'd build defenses. Her ATV patrols ramped up. She'd park across the street, engine idling, watching us rake leaves or sip wine at dusk. It was creepy, invasive. Mary tried olive branches once, carrying out lemonade on a sweltering day. You look parched, Margaret, she said kindly. I'm on duty, Margaret snapped, not even glancing over. No refreshments during patrols. Mary left the glass anyway. It sat melting for hours before Margaret drove off. Our paradise was fraying. My 65th birthday should have been a highlight, steaks on the grill, old buddies sharing laughs, grandkids playing tag. For hours, it was perfect. Then came the roar of her ATV, screeching to a halt, blocking the drive. Two friends' cars idled behind her as she jumped out, arms flailing. Violation, she yelled. Excessive noise, unauthorized vehicles, no permit for gatherings. I strode down, keeping calm. Margaret, this is private property. Move your vehicle, it's a public road. This is association territory, she barked, loud enough for everyone to hear. Guests stared, the party hushed. One pal, Mike, leaned out his window. Ma'am, we're just parking. Problem. You're all in breach, she shouted. No more than 3 guest cars without approval. My temper flared. Your rules don't apply? We're not members. Move now. Laura, visiting that weekend, walked up casually in jeans and a tee. Hi, I'm Laura. What's going on? Margaret sneered. Another rule breaker. This event violates standards. Disperse. Laura tilted her head. Which county law exactly? It's association bylaws binding. For members only, Laura countered smoothly. My folks aren't. So, what gives you authority to block access? Margaret's face twisted. You think you're smart? She snapped photos of plates, scribbled notes, then moved just enough for cars to pass. She lurked across the street all afternoon, souring the mood. Laughter died. Whispers started. Is she for real? Can she do that? After cleanup, Laura stayed. She flipped through my file, expression darkening. Dad, this isn't quirky. It's harassment, unlawful restraint, stalking patterns. I waved it off. She's a pest with an ATV. Bullies like her escalate, Laura said, sheriff's voice emerging. She thinks she's untouchable. That's risky. What now? I asked. Document everything. Install a camera for the drive. Build proof. Mary sighed from the doorway. A camera in our retreat? It's protection, Mom, Laura replied gently. She's crossing lines. We installed ETA high-res model covering the drive and road. It felt wrong, like fortifying Eden, but it brought some security. Laura approved on her next visit. Good angle. If she trespasses, we've got her. But Margaret didn't quit. A county envelope arrived weeks later. Complaint for unpermitted pier work. Our pier was ancient, built by my dad in the 70s, grandfathered in. I dug up old photos, receipts, surveys, compiled a rebuttal packet. Dropping it off, the clerk whispered. We've had a flood from Willow Creek lately. Anonymous, baseless. Margaret was weaponizing red tape, not just against us. It stole days, but the complaint was tossed. Hollow victorish drained our energy. I called Laura. This is abuse of process, Dad, she said. Criminal. The file thickened. Mary's whisper haunted me. How long like this, Jack? Cracks in Margaret's facade showed at the hardware store. Henry, a quiet board member, confessed over nails. She invents rules. No votes in years. I'm just a name on paper. At the bait shop, Bill griped. Dues paid, but roads potholed, pier crumbling. Where's the money? State records confirmed. Association's nonprofit lapsed 2 years back. It didn't exist legally. Margaret was running a ghost operation, pocketing funds. Laura's eyes hardened over the file. Fraud, Dad. Misrepresentation, maybe embezzlement. The plan formed. Civil letter to owners exposing facts, calling for accounting and new board. Criminal let her react, capture on cam. I drafted it meticulously. Lapse status, unrendered services, unlawful fines. Mailed 40 copies. Neighbors buzzed frowns at mailboxes, hushed talks. Margaret's ATV zipped frantically, arguments erupting. Her grip slipped. Sunday it blew. She charged into our yard, ATV tearing Mary's flowers, waving a crumpled letter. You liar. After all I've done. You're trespassing, I said firmly. Your poison undoes my work, she screamed. Laura approached from the pier, composed. Calm down, ma'am. Don't you dare. Margaret whirled, yanking a pistol from her waistband, aiming at Laura. Hands up. Citizens arrest for sabotage. Time froze. Mary gasped. Grandkids stared. Laura raised hands. I'm Laura Thompson, Riverside County Sheriff. Drop the weapon, aggravated assault. Margaret cackled. Sheriff? Here, I'm the law. Sirens wailed Laura's backup. Margaret's panic showed, but she held firm. My turf. Drop it now, Laura commanded, stepping closer. The gun wavered, fell. Deputies swarmed, cuffing her. But I'm president. Neighbors watched, illusions shattered. Margaret faced charges, assault, harassment, fraud, impersonation. Pleaded guilty, probation, fines, therapy, banned from associations. She sold up, vanished. Community reformed, new board, fair rules, neighbor chat clause. Tom led, Henry assisted. I declined treasurer, but offered audits. Willow Creek healed. We savored coffees, barbecues, without shadows. The file? A reminder, stand against tyrants. Our peace returned, earned through grit. What do you think? Share in the comments. How should we handle violence and injustice in everyday life? Take a stand. Do you believe in fighting back with evidence and law? Or is there a better way? Let's discuss and keep the conversation going.